Hi investigators, Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy. We're about to start our live Friday program. Hi investigators, Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy with this week's Australian private, government and corporate Investigator Weekly News. This is the weekly news program every Friday at 2 p.m. where we get together as investigators in Australia and we celebrate making statements great again. And we also give away Private Investigator Coffee Mug sometimes. Pause for effect and a drink of coffee. So what's happened this week? We're coming to that. We've got a great movie to review with Casey in a minute. Got a comment already. And Jamie's made a comment. Wow. Oh, well, Jamie, good to see you, buddy. And Jamie, I really sincerely mean it. Have a great birthday, mate. Congratulations. It's really good to see your birthday, Jamie. Yeah, we're all celebrating that here this afternoon. Well done, mate. Many happy returns. So people, this week we're looking at Private Investigator Weekly News. We're looking at our movie of the week. And we're looking at what's been happening around private investigator jobs. So we'll start off with our jobs for this week. So here's some jobs that have been available this week, and you can see them on our Australian Security Academy Facebook page. Just go to Australian Private Investigator Corporate and Government Investigation Jobs on Facebook, ask to join, I'll approve you, and you will see all the jobs that have come up this week. Here's one as an investigator. There's another one for a factual insurance investigator in Brisbane. As we scroll through, Clarity Workplace Solutions are after investigators in Melbourne. They want a manager of investigations here with this one, and they're paying $120,467 a week. So all those jobs, and this one, lead investigator, quality incident management at BAPCare, and LKA after investigator down in Hobart, and multiple investigators are required by the Taxation Office. So they're just some of the jobs that you'll see on our Facebook page this week. So go to this page. Each week we put up private investigator job vacancies, corporate investigator job vacancies, and vacancies for government as well. So don't miss out. Go and join that jobs page. You'll see them. Only put up about 30% of the available jobs because we're just too busy here. We've had 15 people enroll today at the Australian Security Academy, and I don't know which way is up at the moment. So it's very busy. So we can't put up every job. We have other things to do, but we put them there so you can see them. M&A investigations are after investigators in New South Wales, Queensland, ACT and WA. Their contact details are there. Now, if you missed that and you want to see it again, go to the replay of this program. All you have to do is once this is over, it'll say it's over on Facebook and you can just hit replay to see that job from M&A. Brookside Investigations, they want general insurance investigators throughout the country. So Brookside have that vacancy. Get in touch with them and speak to them at Brookside about getting work with them with general insurance investigations. Sure fact, after investigators in New South Wales and in Victoria. Again, get in touch with them. Their contact details are there. Just replay this video and you'll see their contact details. This is a beauty, this one in Brisbane Health. They want investigators up there and they're paying up to $82,200 full-time in government roles. You'll need a certificate in government investigations to nail that job. Clarity Workplace Solutions, thereafter, investigators in Melbourne, and they also operate in New South Wales. So people, hit replay after this is over. You can pause the video on those replays, or you can go to our YouTube channel, where you can watch the replay the next day. And our YouTube channel, you'll be able to pause the video and go and see all those jobs that are available. So they're the jobs that are available this week around the country. There's a whole lot more than that. There's LS Partners are looking for investigators in Sydney. There's just some I haven't mentioned. We've only got 30 minutes in the program, so that's the ones that I can get through today. So really great opportunities in government, corporate and private investigation roles. Now, it's been a long time, but our movie of the week is coming back, and here to introduce it to us and tell us all about it, Casey. How you going, Casey?
Hi, everyone. Hi, Mike. I'm well, thank you. So
so you got a movie for us, Casey?
I sure do. So this week's movie of the week actually only came out in Australia in the cinemas yesterday, but if you have a VPN, you can watch it other ways, hint, hint, like I did from the comfort of my lounge last night. So this movie is called The Mole Agent, and it's actually a documentary which kind of plays out like a movie because it's not the standard sit down interviewing people documentary. It's actually you're following the investigator as he goes along, and the investigator just happens to be an 83-year-old Chilean man named Sergio. Now, Sergio has answered an ad in the paper where it said men 80 to 90-year-olds wanted. And he said, well, that kind of work just doesn't come around for men my age. And he had just lost his wife 3 months earlier and was looking to kind of distract himself and, get some excitement back into his life, I guess. So we'll have a look at how he becomes a spy.
Puedo a contar de hoy día, vas a ser un agente topo, un espía. A mí me está contratando una hija. Cree que a su madre adentro la están maltratando, que le están robando. Entonces tú vas a ser mis ojos. Yeah. Todo me sirve. Los baños están asquerosos, que la enfermera, cachuchazo, y escobazo, qué sé yo, todo me lo informa.
Informe de hoy, miércoles 29.
I love that. So that's the private investigator that hired him, who's quite a character himself, and gets Sergio into the aged care facility undercover and says that he is the godson. And it plays out really beautifully. It's not just about being a spy, but it is really entertaining to see Sergio, who is 83 years of age. Keep messing up my words today, sorry. And he's never used a smartphone, let alone they give him a camera pen, and his glasses have a camera in it, and he shows how he tries to use it and breaks them, and it's really entertaining and really, really heartwarming. So there's some funny bits and some really beautiful bits that really touch you right in the heart.
Mándame un mensaje de voz por WhatsApp.
Llore. Eso le hace bien, llore nomás.
It's one of my favorite scenes where he's asked to send, because the way he reports every night is sending a WhatsApp voice message. And rather than doing that, he just calls the investigator and he's like, I've shown you. So it's really entertaining that way. But it's also good to see how he goes about the investigation. And he's not a private investigator. I don't know what he did before, Sergio, but he did amazing. The way he took notes, the way he looked around, and because he couldn't quite get to the subject that he was asked to report on because she wasn't very friendly, he interviewed casually a lot of the women in the aged care facility around that lady to try and get closer and to try and get a better idea of how she was being treated. And that's exactly how it happens in real life. If you can't get to your subject, you've got to find other ways. You have to find other information. You can't just go, oh, well. So it's good for that, and it's a fantastic movie. I can highly recommend it.
Thank you, Casey. What a great review. I'm really looking forward to watching it. I think Jim Higgins, there's still a few years left in you yet then, mate. If Sergio can do it at his age, you're much younger than him. Thanks, Casey. That's really great. So The Mole Agent should be available on Netflix in times to come, but
it's at the cinemas now.
It's in the cinemas now. Okay. You can see it in the cinemas in Australia. I guess it'd have subtitles, does it?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yep. All right. And it's from Chile.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you speak Spanish, you won't need the subtitles. Okay, people, what's happened this week in private investigations? Shock, horror. Ben Robert Smith hired an investigator to check a woman was having an abortion. That got a headline just because it's got private investigator. Wow, that's really incredible. This lady, she was sexually harassed in her role in a police department in Australia, and she was offered $830,000 as a payout, and she knocked it back, electing to go to court instead. Now, she was up against some pretty experienced police officers, and this is what one of the professors said about this. She actually endured 6 days in the witness box under cross-examination, going through every little detail of what she'd done, and it was reported in the press. Now, the Professor Crow from Bond University, he said, for anybody, regardless of your circumstances or background, being aggressively cross-examined over multiple days about small details of your evidence in an alleged sexual assault is very onerous and an upsetting process. And Professor Crow said community awareness of other tactics, such as the use of private investigators, was one of the contributing factors to low rates of reporting sexual assault, as well as low conviction rates. Well, I don't know about that. I think the days of the old private investigator image digging dirt on people, and they did dig dirt on this lady. They sent a private investigator to dig dirt. I don't know that still goes on. I thought that sort of those days were pretty well numbered. There's better methods these days. There's more information available. But that's something that happened this week in the news in Australia. She was financially ruined, and by not accepting the $800,000 offer and electing to go to court, she didn't win. But you can read all about it. I don't know what her name is. And other news today, a magistrate who had a relationship with a young court clerk, she passed away, and he put in a claim for her superannuation and was awarded it. Now, no one knows how to game systems better than magistrates, so that's one that's happened down in Victoria. And the mother of the young lady was supposed to be the beneficiary to that, but the magistrate ended up with her superannuation. He said it was because the mother refused to give him any of the ashes of her daughter. I just don't get that. I lost it on that one. Other news this week in the Financial Review, Safe Work also warned that the quality of work undertaken by fatigued lawyers could be compromised to the same level as if they were drunk, with work completed after 17 to 20 hours awake similarly impaired as if they were done by someone with a 0.05 or 0.1 blood alcohol content, respectively. Now, this came from complaints about young solicitors working for firms and being expected to work up to 80 hours a week. They were sleeping in the office and they were working and they were being underpaid. So the Financial Review reported on this. For those of you that don't know, it's such an exacting occupation being a solicitor, they have a very high suicide rate as a result of that that exaction that they have to have in everything they do. So that one came out in the Financial Review in the defence of young interns who are being expected to do a lot of work, and they named specifically 2 law firms that were doing the right thing. So that's an interesting one that came out this week. Now, done that. What else have we got?
It's actually crazy how that's a badge of honour in any industry, sleeping under your desk or working long hours and being asked to work long hours. It's been known for this many scientific studies showing how detrimental sleep deprivation is to anybody. And you'll even deal with investigations about that. Just sleep deprivation, people falling asleep behind the wheel happens all the time. So
yeah, and they were underpaid as well. And eventually they did get their money. So, yes, they were just trying to do the right thing by their workplace, but it was dangerous to themselves, to other road users to and from work, that sort of thing. They've got to take these things into account as a wider WHS issue. So let's have a look at what else happened. This lady, Natasha Beth Darcy, this week was found guilty of making her second husband suicide. So here she is being interviewed by the police in that picture, and her first husband, she killed him some way, and she had a whole lot of internet searches on how to kill people, that sort of thing, as the police look for their evidence. Here she is in her police interview. Now, one of the things you hear me crap on about a lot in here is when someone is going to lie to you, they tell you their lie and they want to get it out quickly, and they try and be really convincing about it, and they lie to you and they're trying to be friendly. What they call that is receiving a big bunch of flowers from the liar. So they're giving you this big bunch of flowers, right? And you're the investigator asking the questions, and these flowers are coming at you, and you are getting this happening. Now, what she's saying here is, he was a farmer, he's a merino farmer, and he's gay, and it's pretty tough being gay when you're a farmer. Now, this is what she said to the police officers. Now, I am sure that in the cowboy world of farming, there are gay people just like there are anywhere else. And she was making a pretty, personal statement in relation to this. And I don't know whether he was gay or not. What would it even matter? But she's saying that. She's giving those police officers that bunch of flowers. Now, what their role is as the investigator is to say, yeah, thanks for that. But they look behind the flowers and search for the coffins. Okay, so people that are going to lie to you, think of this. Oh, here's a lovely flower. I'm a nice person. I didn't search the internet on how to dispose of a body. All right, you go and check. You go and check the internet. So that happened this week. She's found guilty. That's a second husband that she's murdered, and she had him change his will and leave the farm to her. So she's been sentenced this week as a result of that. So. Something really worth watching. Have a Google of it, Natasha Beth Darcy, and just have a look how the police put that investigation together. When you're going to become a private investigator, it's very important that you have both the Lexicon and the Praxis in relation to what you're going to be doing. And this came out in a really excellent news in the insurance news this week from a car accident in Tasmania. Now, by Lexicon, I mean the vocabulary that they use. And the vocabulary in this case came down to IDR. IDR? What's that? Well, you're not going to know that unless you do the right private investigator course at the Australian Security Academy. That's what you're going to find out. It's internal dispute resolution. That's what it is. That's the lexicon in this area. What's the praxis? The praxis is the practical application of the work. So the practical application of the work in this case is investigating a car accident properly. So the man's insured with the RACT in Tasmania. There are two versions of events in relation to it. one in the Insurance News and one in another newspaper. One says that he was behind a bus in really wet weather for some time. Another one says he was behind a bus in really wet weather for a while. Now, every Australian Security Academy student has sat in class and listened to me rave on about what happens and what you do if someone says it took a while. Now, this is in Tasmania. I'm from Tasmania. A while in Tasmania could be anywhere from 5 years to 30 years in Tasmania. All right, that's a while. Now, my wife and I, we like to go to Sydney, and we go to the CBD in Sydney, and we like to stand together when we walk and hold hands. So if we get on an escalator, we're standing side by side and holding hands. Now, I didn't know in Sydney that you're supposed to be one behind the other, single file on an escalator. I had no idea about this. We were 3 steps up, 0.5 seconds, which in Sydney in the CBD is a while. Now, that's pretty short compared to Tasmania's 15 to 25 years while. They did not clarify how long this guy was behind the car for. He's on tyres that are 61,000 kilometres old. Right, so what's happened is he's put in a claim with the RACT saying, I've had an accident in my vehicle, right, and I aquaplaned. Now, they listened to the recording of his claim, and he said, I aquaplaned. And immediately at the RACT, they jumped to the conclusion that he's rung up and confessed that he's caused the accident by aquaplaning. Now, they can't do that, and it gets a lot more complicated, and there are other examples of the Lexicon and the Praxis. Let's have a look. Last week, the Australian Financial Complaints Authority upheld a claim on behalf of a claimant in relation to an accident in Tasmania where a insured was driving along in heavy rain behind a bus, and whilst overtaking the bus, the insured's vehicle aquaplaned on bald tyres and caused an accident. Nobody was injured in that accident. No other damage was done other to the insured vehicle. We don't know the value of the insured vehicle. It was on tyres that had done 61,000 kilometres, so I would say the vehicle would be quite old. This wouldn't be any more than a $15,000 claim, if that. So the insured's made a claim for it, and the Australian Financial Complaints Authority have knocked back the RACT Tasmania's denial of that claim, enforcing that the RACT pay his claim even though he was driving on bald tyres. Now, this brings in some significant issues for investigators out there. Mostly, it's the cheapness of the RACT and how they went about this. The AFCA and the RACT relied on a police investigation in this matter. The police didn't charge the insured with having bald tyres or driving dangerously. So the RACT relied on that. Similarly, in Tasmania, back in 2010, a cement truck was going down a very steep hill, lost control at the bottom of the hill on a sharp left-hand turn and ended up in the Nive River upside down. Now, it's a $200,000 vehicle accident with probably $15,000 worth of cement in the bottom of it. The police report said their accident was the cause of ice on the road. Now, if you're an investigator, you'd notice that there was no witnesses, the truck driver was injured, no other vehicle involved. On that day, the temperature, according to BOM, was -1 degree. 2 weeks beforehand, it was -3.4. That's an icy road, but -1 isn't. So, at first sight, it's a choice for the cops between massive paperwork proving that it was recklessness on behalf of the driver or letting it slide and just eating donuts. That's what it appears to be when you first look at it. The cops have to prove that he was driving dangerously. Now, the police major accident unit attends all motor vehicle accidents where there are serious injuries or fatalities. If no one is hurt, they do not go. They are highly qualified and experienced investigators trained in accident investigation, whereas your local police officer attends accidents, but they're not reconstruction training. So where did the RACT fail in this investigation? They treated the claimant's initial phone call of the circumstances as if it was a confession. He said, "I aquaplaned," and they jumped on that. They didn't conduct a record of interview with the claimant about the maintenance of his vehicle and the age of his tyres. They did not interview any attending police who attended that and wrote the report and failed to put any charges in because they had no charges to make. They did not conduct a scene inspection where the accident happened on that highway. They didn't obtain any rear dash cam video from the bus, which would be there in 2021, and they were relying on assessment centre analysis alone without all the 5 of the above. So that's where they went wrong, and that's where the RACT have got to lift their game. So that's a typical situation where that accident with that cement truck happened in the country, and the major crash unit did not have to attend. They've got to stay where they are because on that day there might be 5 or 6 major crash unit call-outs to where they are anyway. So they can't go 3 hours into the bush where someone wasn't injured and it was an insured truck that went over, even though it was of high value. They actually said it was due to ice, which wasn't on the road that day. That saved the local police about 10 years in paperwork. Now, they got away with it. Well, big deal, that happens. But nobody was injured and it was insured. Now, this is a typical attitude that's out there in the community in relation to that. Now, our man with his bald tyres probably had a $15,000 car maximum, but the RACT went past their internal dispute resolution process and took him straight to the AFCA and denying his claim. Now, he went to the AFCA and said, no, I want my money. I'm insured. I paid my premium. So the AFCA decided that just on the inspection of 2 assessment centres who said it was bald tyres, the fact that the police didn't charge him with any charges, that would be enough to deny his claim. They didn't interview the police. They should have gone to the police who attended and said, look, okay, what happened? What time of day was it? If this happened in the dark and they couldn't see the tyres, then that would explain why they couldn't see the tyres. I guess the RACT said it's only a low value vehicle. We're just going to deny this, not pay it, and everything's going to be all right without having the full information that they should have. So that's a really interesting one that came out this week. It happens every day. Now, some of the other news that came out this week, there was a report came out from the 2018-2019 insurance statistics, and they're saying that insurance claims in Australia are running at 12,900 a day just for general insurance, home and contents, and motor vehicle accidents. Every day there are 12,900 claims. Now, the majority of those claims are going to be paid without any argument, without going to the Financial Complaints Authority or anything like that. Oh, you dropped your camera. How much is your camera worth? $200. Okay, we'll send you a check. That's it. Got a receipt for it? Here's a check. Okay, that's how it'll go. Now, 12,900 claims is a lot of claims. There are a lot of investigators and loss adjusters who work in the general insurance industry, and they just do motor vehicle accident, stolen motor vehicle, home burglary, home damage claims. And I've been dealing with 7 loss adjusters this week. All they do is home damage claims, and they are in that Australian Financial Complaints Authority. Their reports are going there as the third-party reports for expert evidence in relation to those complaints. So they work actually for the person who's making the claim as loss adjusters. So there is a whole range of work out there in investigations, whether you're a private investigator, a licensed investigator, general insurance claims. That's amazing. 12,900 a day in Australia. Wow. Now, further on this week, what else have we had happen that I've got here?
Just on the a while, Mike, that's one thing that stood out to me always in the course was that when people use turns of phrases or are loose in their language, you always have to clarify. So you can't just say, well, I was behind a bus for a while. Well, how long was that while? And you make them give you a time so that can go in the statement. So that always really stuck out to me.
It's not a big ask to say, well, where did you leave from?
Yeah.
Was it home? Was it the supermarket? Where did you leave from? When did you get first behind the bus? Was it at the crossroads? Was it at traffic lights? Was it at the intersection? This person's done 61,000 kilometres. He's a driver. He's driving around. Right? He's not old person like me who does, 3,000 kilometres a year. This guy's out moving around. So he knows his road. So where did you encounter that bus? And then when you aquaplaned, where was that? So how long's that while? Right? And people will say, I'll say, how far away were you when you saw it? They'll go, a fair way. Okay. How far away is a fair way? A fair way to a golfer might be a 55-metre hit. I don't know. But to a footballer, she might have a different opinion on that. So it really must be clarified. Things like a while, a fair way, or whatever they say, and they might even use some kind of language you don't understand, like I did Lexicon and Praxis. What's Lexicon mean to you? What's Praxis mean to you? So you can always narrow down on that. And in this case, I think it's just the low value of the car. They thought they were going to get away with it and not have to pay it. But to that person, that was his only vehicle, and that was very important. So he took it to the Australian Financial Compliance Authority. And if you have an issue with any insurance company, your first port of call is the IDR, which is the Internal Dispute Resolution. They'll have a look at it and they could decide in your favour as the claimant. Now, if they knock you back, then you go to the Australian Financial Complaints Authority and they decide in favour of the claimants in the majority of cases, and you don't have to pay a cent. It's all paid by the insurance companies. Now, the reason it exists is they don't want, don't tell anyone, they don't want the government to regulate them. That's the worst possible thing that could happen. Right? Poor old health and poor old police, they have to have that. The insurance industry don't want that. So if the insurance industry don't self-regulate with that complaints authority umpire, and they finance it and they pay for it in combination, right? And it decides in the majority of cases for the claimant. If that falls over and doesn't work, then the government will take over the insurance industry and regulate it. So currently they're free to be self-regulating as long as they have that. So that's been interesting in that week in relation to those few things that have happened. Remember, people, it's really important. It sounds like a broken record, but I'm going to play it again because it's just so important. It supports what Casey just said. The investigator and tunnel vision. There's no Sherlock Holmeses out there. There's 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. That's our work. Don't let anyone tell you they're a master investigator. You must, if you're going to catch a criminal, think like a criminal. Sometimes you'll be so hard on it, you'll get tunnel vision. You don't make things out of one fact. You don't make 5 facts out of one thing. You must convince the person it's in their interest to tell you what happened. Investigation work, if you don't learn something new every day, you're not doing your job properly. So what we saw with the RACT was, this guy's confessed with his initial phone call, which we've recorded, and he said he's aquaplaned. We've got 2 assessment centres that said his tyres were bald. The police report said they weren't going to charge him with anything, so that's not accurate either. So we will deny the claim. They made facts out of things. Can't do that. They didn't go into any depth. So keep that in mind, investigators. Casey, really appreciate you coming in and showing us the movie this week. After watching it, would you put your elderly parents in a home, Casey?
Oh, I would never. I made that early. It's quite a feel-good movie, and it actually shows a nice aged care facility, which is nice for a change, especially with everything that's happened in Australia over the last few years. So, yeah. Thanks, Natalie.
Very good. All right, people, that's our 30 minutes for this week. We'll see you again next week. I don't know how Casey and I made it today with all the people that enrolled today. We have been flat out and we haven't had a chance to prepare very much for this program. You did a stellar job, Casey, coming out with that to show everybody. We'll go out in our usual way, people, that we always do. And I've just got to find it. It's here somewhere.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.
That's our mission complete for this week. I'm Mike Evans from the Australian Security Academy with Casey Pine from the Australian Security Academy. We'll see you again next Friday, 2 o'clock. Thanks, people. Thanks for watching.
Bye, everyone.